Imagine two kids growing up on the same street. One is named John and the other is Mike. Both go to school, both get decent grades, and both are told the same thing by adults. Study hard, get good marks, and find a safe job. For a long time, they both believe this is the only way to live a good life. But as they grow older, something interesting happens. John follows that advice exactly. He studies hard, gets a job, and works every day. Mike, however, starts asking a simple question. Is working for money the only way to live? The simple difference in thinking slowly changes their lives. This is a core idea behind the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. The book is not really about two real fathers. It is about two different ways of thinking about money. One way is called the poor dad mindset, and the other is the rich dad mindset. Both mindsets are logical, but they lead to very different results over time. The main idea of the book is simple. Most people are taught to work for money, but rich people learn how to make money work for them. This small change in thinking can change your whole life. Let's understand this in a very simple way. Think about John again. He gets a job and earns money every month. When he gets paid, he uses that money to pay bills, buy things, and take care of his needs. Then next month, he has to work again to get more money. His life becomes a cycle. Work, earn, spend, repeat. There is nothing wrong with this. It is stable and safe. But it also means John has to keep working all the time. Now look at Mike. He also earns money, but instead of spending everything, he uses some of it to buy things that can bring him more money. For example, he might buy something that earns income regularly. Over time, these small income sources grow. Slowly, Mike reaches a point where money comes to him even when he is not working all the time. This is the first big lesson of the book. Don't just work for money. Learn how money can work for you. This idea may sound simple, but most people never think about it deeply. They focus only on earning more money from a job. They try to get a higher salary, a better position, or longer hours. But they don't think about how to use money in a smart way so it can grow on its own. The second important lesson is about how people think about money. The poor dad mindset believes that the safest path is to study hard and get a secure job. This mindset avoids risk and focuses on stability. It says things like, I can't afford it, or this is too risky. On the other hand, the rich dad mindset thinks differently. It asks, how can I afford it? Or how can I make this work? Instead of stopping at a problem, it tries to find a solution. Let's take a simple example. Sarah wants to buy a new laptop, but she does not have enough money. If she follows the poor dad mindset, she might say, I can't afford this, and stop thinking about it. But if she follows the rich dad mindset, she might ask, what can I do to earn extra money? Maybe she starts a small side activity, saves money, or learns a skill. The difference is not in the situation. It is in the thinking. This shift in thinking is very powerful. When you say, I can't, your brain stops working. When you ask, how can I, your brain starts looking for answers. The third lesson is about fear and habits. Many people are afraid of losing money. Because of this fear, they avoid trying new things. They stay in safe zones and never explore better opportunities. The book explains that fear is natural, but it should not control your decisions. Think about Emma. She wants to try something new to earn money, but she is scared it might fail, so she does nothing. Years pass, and she stays in the same place. Now, compare this with Mike. He also feels fear, but he still tries small things. Some fail, some work. Over time, he learns and improves. Slowly, he moves forward. The difference is not luck. It is action. The book also explains something very simple, but very important. Most people increase their spending when their income increases. When they earn more, they buy more things. This keeps them stuck in the same cycle. They feel rich for a moment, but they still have to keep working. Let's go back to John. When he gets a raise, he buys a bigger phone, better clothes, or other things. His expenses increase along with his income. So even though he earns more, he still depends on his job completely. Mike does something different. When he earns more, he tries to use that extra money to create more income instead of increasing his expenses too fast. He focuses on building something that can support him in the future. Slowly, his money starts growing. This is a simple but powerful habit. Control your spending and use your money wisely. Another key idea is learning. The book says that schools teach us how to work for money, but they don't teach us how money works. Because of this, many people feel confused when it comes to managing money. Imagine if John never learns how money works. He may earn a lot, but he may also make poor decisions. He may spend too much, save too little, or miss good opportunities. But if Mike learns about money early, he understands how to use it better. Even if he starts with less, he can grow it over time. Learning does not have to be complex. It can start with simple questions like, where does my money go? How can I save more? How can I grow what I have? These small questions can lead to better decisions. The book is not saying that jobs are bad. Jobs are important. They give you income and stability. But the book suggests that you should not depend only on a job. You should also think about how to build other ways to earn money. Let's look at the journey again. At the start, both John and Mike are in the same place. They both follow the same advice. But then Mike starts thinking differently. He asks better questions. He learns about money. He takes small steps. Over time, these small differences grow into big changes. John works hard his whole life, but he always needs to work to earn. Mike also works hard, but he builds something that supports him over time. In the end, Mike has more freedom. Freedom is a big idea in this book. It does not mean doing nothing. It means having control over your time and choices. When you are not always worried about money, you can focus on other things in life. The book teaches that this freedom is not just for a few people. It is possible for anyone who is willing to learn and think differently. It starts with simple changes in how you see money. So what is the clear message here? Don't just focus on earning money. Focus on understanding money. Don't stop at, I can't. Ask, how can I? Don't let fear stop you from trying small things. And don't spend everything you earn. Use some of it to build something for your future. In simple words, the book is teaching you to think smart about money, not just work hard for it. If you remember just one thing, remember this: money is a tool. If you don't learn how to use it, it will control you. But if you learn how it works, you can use it to build a better life, step by step. What if I told you that working harder does not always make you richer? It sounds strange, right? Most people believe that if they study hard, get a good job, and work all day, money will come. But many people follow this path and still struggle with money. So what's missing? Let's start with a simple story. John is a smart kid. He studies well, gets good grades, and later finds a stable job. Every month, he earns money. But after paying rent, food bills, and small pleasures, very little is left. He works harder to earn more, but his expenses also grow. Years pass, and John is still stuck in the same cycle. Now meet Mike. Mike is not smarter than John, but he thinks differently. Instead of only working for money, he tries to understand how money works. Slowly, he learns something important. Money can work for you if you understand it well. This idea comes from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. In Chapter 2, the main idea is simple but powerful. Rich people do not work for money. Instead, they make money work for them. Now, let's understand this in the easiest way. Most people, like John, believe that earning more money is the answer, so they focus only on getting a better job or working more hours. But here's the problem. If your lifestyle also becomes more expensive, you are not really getting richer. You are just running faster on the same path. Think of it like this. Imagine you are running on a treadmill. You run faster and faster, but you are still in the same place. That is what happens when you only work for money but do not control your expenses or build something that earns for you. The book explains that this is called the rat race. People wake up, go to work, earn money, pay bills, and repeat the same cycle again and again. They feel stuck, but they don't know how to get out. So, what do rich people do differently? They focus on something called assets. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. It keeps giving you money even when you are not working. On the other hand, a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. This is one of the most important lessons in this chapter. Let's make it very simple with an example. Sarah buys a fancy phone using her salary. It feels good, but it does not give her money. Instead, it may even cost her more later. This is a liability. Now imagine Mike uses his money to start something small, like a simple online store. At first, it may be slow, but over time, it starts bringing in money every month. Even when Mike is not working, the store earns. This is an asset. The big idea is this. Rich people spend their money on assets. Poor and middle-class people often spend money on things that look nice, but do not make money. This does not mean you should never enjoy life. It just means you should first build assets. Once your assets grow, they can pay for your lifestyle. Now, let's go deeper into another important lesson. Many people are controlled by two simple things: fear and desire. Fear makes people say, I need a safe job. I can't take risks. Desire makes people say, I want a bigger house, a better car, more things. Because of fear, people stick to jobs they may not enjoy. Because of desire, they spend more than they should. This creates a cycle. They need more money, so they work more, but then they spend more again. It's like filling a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much water you pour, it never fills up. Rich people think differently. They understand these feelings, but do not let them control their decisions. Instead of reacting quickly, they pause and think. For example, Emma gets a raise at her job. Her first thought is to buy something new, but then she stops and thinks, what if I use this extra money to create something that earns more money? That small decision can change your future. This is the difference between working for money and making money work for you. Another key lesson is learning instead of only earning. Most people go to work just to get paid. They focus only on the paycheck. But the book says something very important. You should also focus on what you're learning. Let's say John takes a job just because it pays well. He does the same work every day and learns very little. After some time, he feels stuck. Now Mike takes a job where he learns skills like selling, managing money, or understanding business. Even if the pay is not very high at first, he gains knowledge. Later, he uses this knowledge to build something of his own. In simple words, skills can make you richer in the long run than just a salary. Think of it like planting seeds. A salary is like eating food for today. Skills are like planting seeds that can grow into trees and give fruit for many years. Now, let's connect everything together with a small journey. At the start, John works hard and earns money, but he spends most of it on things that do not bring money back. He feels tired and stuck. Then he starts learning new ideas. He understands the difference between assets and liabilities. He realizes that just earning more is not enough. So, he begins to change small habits. Instead of buying something new every time he gets money, he saves a part of it. He uses that money to build something small that can earn for him. At first, the results are slow, but over time his assets grow. Now, he has money coming in from different places. He is not fully dependent on his job anymore. This is a shift from being controlled by money to controlling money. The chapter is not telling you to quit your job or take big risks. It is teaching you to think differently. It is about understanding how money flows. If money comes in and goes out quickly, you stay stuck. If money comes in and you use it to build assets, you slowly move forward. Another simple way to understand this is to imagine money as a worker. Most people work for money. Rich people make money work for them. If you had 10 workers who work for you every day and gave you money, your life would be different. Assets are like those workers. They keep working even when you are resting. But building these workers takes time, patience, and smart thinking. This chapter also teaches that it is okay to start small. You don't need a lot of money to begin. What you need is the right mindset. Even saving a small amount and using it wisely can be a starting point. The key is consistency. If you repeat small, smart actions again and again, they grow into something big. So what is the final message? Do not just work for money. Learn how money works. Understand the difference between things that take your money and things that give you money. Control your spending not by fear, but by clear thinking. Focus on learning skills, not just earning a salary. And most importantly, start building assets, even if they are small, because in the end, the goal is simple. You want your money to support your life, not control it. When you understand this, you are no longer stuck on the treadmill. You start moving forward, step by step, toward a life where your effort creates lasting results. Imagine two kids growing up together. Both go to school, both study hard, and both want a good life. But years later, one is always worried about money, while the other seems relaxed and free. What changed? It was not luck. It was how they understood money. Let's look at a simple story. John gets a job after school. Every month, he earns money. He feels happy, so he buys a new phone, new clothes, and eats out often. At the end of the month, his money is gone. Then he waits for the next salary. This keeps repeating. Now meet Mike. He also earns money, but he uses it a little differently. He buys only what he really needs. Then he uses the rest of his money to buy things that can make him more money. Slowly, his money starts growing, even when he is not working. After some years, Mike does not worry much about money. John still does. This simple difference is what Chapter 3 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki tries to explain. The chapter is called Mind Your Own Business, but it does not mean opening a shop or company right away. It means something much deeper and smarter. The main idea is this. Most people spend their whole life working for money, but they never build something that works for them. They stay busy, but they don't grow their financial strength. The book says your real job is not just what you do daily. Your real job is to build something on the side that brings you money over time. Let's understand this slowly and clearly. Think about your job as something that gives you money today. It helps you pay bills, buy food, and live your life. That is important. But if all your money comes only from your job, then you're always dependent on it. If you stop working, the money stops. That means you are trading your time for money. Now think about something different. Imagine you buy a small thing that earns you money regularly. For example, Mike buys a simple machine and rents it to someone. Every month, he gets a little money from it. Or Sarah writes a small online course once, and people keep buying it. She earns again and again without doing the same work every time. These are simple examples of building something that works for you. This is what the book calls building your business. It is not about leaving your job. It is about creating assets. Assets are things that put money into your pocket again and again. Here comes the first big lesson. Many people think they are building wealth, but they are actually just spending money. They buy big things like expensive cars or fancy items, thinking it makes them rich, but those things take money away. They need maintenance, fuel, and upgrades. So instead of helping, they quietly drain money. Mike thinks differently. Before buying something expensive, he asks, will this give me money or take money? If it takes money, he waits. First, he buys something that gives money. Once that money grows, then he uses that extra money to enjoy life. Let's make it very simple. John buys a costly bike on loan. Every month, he pays for it. That money is going out. Mike, instead, uses that same money to start something small, like buying items in bulk and selling them for a small profit. Slowly, that profit grows. After some time, Mike can buy the same bike without stress. The difference is timing and thinking. The second important lesson is about focus. The book says most people focus only on their job title. They say, I am a doctor, or I am an engineer, or I am a teacher. But they forget to focus on building their financial future. They get busy, they earn, they spend, and years pass. Mike still works a normal job, but he also focuses on building assets. He spends his free time learning simple ways to grow money. He does not rush. He takes small steps. Over time, those small steps become something big. Sarah is another example. She works in an office. Every month, she saves a small amount and invests it into something that grows slowly. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. But after a few years, that small effort becomes something strong. Now she has two sources of money, her job and her assets. This creates a powerful change. When you have assets, you feel less pressure. You are not scared of losing your job. You have options. That is what real financial strength looks like. The third lesson is about discipline. Building assets is not exciting at the start. It feels slow. It requires saying no to many things. John sees a new phone and buys it instantly. Mike sees it too, but he waits. He asks himself, Is this helping me grow or just making me feel good for a short time? This is not about never enjoying life. It is about choosing the right time. Mike enjoys life too, but after his assets grow, he uses the income from his assets to enjoy, not his main income. Let's look at a small journey to understand this better. At first, John feels happy. He earns, spends, and enjoys, but slowly his expenses increase. More bills come. More wants come. He feels stuck because he needs to keep working just to maintain his life. This is the problem. Mike also starts the same way. He earns money and has desires, but he learns one simple idea: build assets first. So he controls his spending. He builds small sources of income. At first, it feels slow and even boring, but over time, his income from assets starts growing. This gives him confidence. Now comes understanding. John starts noticing that no matter how much he earns, he feels the same stress. Mike, on the other hand, starts feeling more relaxed as his assets grow. Finally, the solution becomes clear. Mike keeps focusing on building assets. He does not depend only on his job. His money starts working for him. John, if he learns this lesson, can also change. He can start small, control spending, and slowly build assets. The beauty of this idea is that it is simple. You don't need to be very smart or very rich to start. You just need to change how you think. Instead of asking, "What can I buy?" you start asking, "What can I build that gives me money?" Even small steps matter. Saving a little, investing a little, learning a little. Over time, these small actions create big results. The chapter teaches that your job is important, but it should not be your only focus. Your real goal is to build something that gives you freedom in the future. Something that works even when you are not working. In the end, the message is clear and practical. Do not just work for money. Make your money work for you. Start small, stay consistent, and focus on building assets. This is how you slowly move from stress to control, from dependency to freedom. What if I told you that working harder at your job might not make you richer, but understanding money better can? Imagine two people earning the same amount, but one slowly becomes rich while the other keeps struggling. The difference is not luck. It is how they think about money. Let's start with a simple story. John gets his first job and feels proud. Every month, he gets paid and spends most of it on things he likes. A new phone, better clothes, eating out. At the end of the month, his money is gone. Then there is Mike. He also earns the same as John. But before spending, Mike first keeps a small part of his money aside and uses it to buy things that bring him more money later. After some time, Mike has extra income coming in, while John is still living paycheck to paycheck. Both worked hard, but their thinking was different. This idea comes from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. In Chapter 4, the focus is on one powerful idea: understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. This sounds like a big word, but it is actually very simple once you break it down. The main idea of this chapter is this: rich people focus on buying assets, while poor and middle-class people often buy liabilities thinking they are assets. That one small mistake changes everything. So what is an asset? An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. And what is a liability? It is something that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. No complex definitions needed. If it gives you money, it is an asset. If it takes your money, it is a liability. Now, let's make this very easy to understand with real-life examples. Imagine Sarah buys a small machine and rents out to others. Every month, she gets paid for it. That machine is an asset because it brings her money. Now imagine Emma buys a very expensive phone on loan. Every month, she has to pay money for it. That phone is a liability because it keeps taking money from her pocket. Here is where many people get confused. Some things look like assets, but are actually liabilities. For example, someone might say, "My house is my biggest asset." But if that house is not making money and instead requires you to pay loan, maintenance, and bills, then it is actually taking money from you. So in simple terms, it acts like a liability. The book is not saying that you should never buy things you enjoy. It is saying you must first understand what you are buying. If you think something will make you rich, but it actually keeps draining your money, you are moving in the wrong direction. Let's go back to John and Mike. At first, John thinks he is doing well, because he buys nice things. But over time, his expenses grow. Every new thing he buys needs more money to maintain. His lifestyle becomes expensive. So even if his salary increases, his spending also increases. He feels stuck. Mike, on the other hand, follows a simple rule. Every time he earns money, he first buys assets. These assets slowly start giving him extra income. At the beginning, the amount is small, but over time, it grows. Now Mike has money coming in without working extra hours. This is a turning point. One important lesson from this chapter is to pay yourself first. This does not mean spending on yourself first. It means investing in your future first. Before you pay bills or buy things, you set aside money to buy assets. This way, you are slowly building something that will support you later. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you earn $100. Instead of spending all of it, you keep $10 aside. With that $10, you invest in something that gives you returns over time. At first, it may feel small, but if you keep doing this again and again, it builds up over months and years. This becomes powerful. Another important lesson is about controlling spending. Many people increase their expenses as soon as their income increases. This is called lifestyle inflation. Even if the book does not use that exact word in a simple way. For example, if John gets a raise, he immediately upgrades his lifestyle. A bigger house, better car, more spending. So even though he earns more, he is still left with no savings. Mike does the opposite. When his income increases, he keeps his spending under control and increases his investment in assets. This way, his wealth grows faster. The key idea is not how much you earn, but how much you keep and how you use it. The chapter also shows that financial problems often come from habits, not income. A person can earn a lot, but still struggle if they keep buying liabilities. Another person can earn less but become financially stable by focusing on assets. Now think about this in your own life. Every time you spend money, ask yourself one simple question. Is this putting money into my pocket or taking it out? This small question can change your decisions over time. Let's look at a small journey to understand this better. At the start, John is confused. He thinks earning more money will solve everything. But no matter how much he earns, he still feels stuck. Then he learns about assets and liabilities. At first, it feels strange. He realizes many things he thought were good investments are actually costing him money. So he starts small. Instead of spending all his money, he begins setting aside a part of it. He uses that to buy simple assets, maybe something that gives a small return. Slowly, he sees a change. His money is not just going out anymore. Some of it is coming back. Over time, this builds confidence. He understands that money is not just about working hard. It is about making smart choices. Now, instead of chasing every new thing, he focuses on building assets. His financial life becomes more stable. The beauty of this idea is that it is simple and practical. You do not need to be very smart or highly educated. You just need to understand one rule clearly and follow it with discipline. Another thing the chapter teaches is that emotions often lead to bad money decisions. People buy things to feel good in the moment, but those decisions can hurt them later. For example, buying something expensive just to look successful can create stress because of payments. Logical thinking helps you avoid this trap. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" a better question is, "How can I make this pay for itself?" This small shift in thinking can change everything. It forces you to think in a smarter way. In the end, the message of this chapter is very clear. Do not focus only on earning money. Focus on building assets that bring money to you. Understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Control your spending, and always think about how your money can work for you. If you follow the simple path, step by step, you move from always working for money to slowly letting money work for you. And that is the real goal. Imagine working hard every day, earning money, but still feeling like you are not moving forward. You pay bills, you save a little, but somehow money always feels tight. Now imagine someone else who earns the same amount as you, but slowly becomes richer over time. What is the difference? This is a question that Chapter 5 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad tries to answer. Let's start with a simple story. John and Mike are two friends. Both have jobs. Both earn the same salary. John works hard, saves money, and avoids taking risks. Mike also works hard, but he spends time learning about money. He reads, observes, and tries small ideas. After a few years, John still depends only on his job. Mike, however, has built small sources of extra income. He did not earn more at the start, but he used his mind differently. This is where the big idea of this chapter begins. Chapter 5 is about one powerful idea. The rich invent money. This does not mean they print money. It means they use their thinking, creativity, and knowledge to find ways to create income. While many people wait for opportunities, the rich look for them. While others feel fear and stop, the rich move forward carefully and learn as they go. The chapter explains that fear and doubt stop most people from growing. Think about it in simple terms. Sarah wants to start a small business. She has a good idea, but then she thinks, what if I fail? So she does nothing. Emma, on the other hand, also feels fear, but she asks, what if I learn something useful even if I fail? So she starts small. Even if she makes mistakes, she gains experience. Over time, Emma grows, while Sarah stays in the same place. The difference is not luck. The difference is how they handle fear. One important lesson here is that everyone feels fear. Even smart and successful people feel it. The problem is not fear itself. The problem is letting fear control your actions. When fear stops you from trying, you lose chances to learn and grow. The rich understand this. They do not ignore fear, but they do not let it stop them either. Another key idea is that many people say, I can't afford it, and stop thinking. This is a very common habit. For example, Mike sees something useful, like a small business idea or a tool that can help him earn more. If he says, I can't afford it, his brain shuts down. There is no thinking after that. But if he asks, how can I afford it? His brain starts working. It begins to look for solutions. Maybe he saves more. Maybe he finds a partner. Maybe he starts smaller. The question itself changes everything. This may sound simple, but it is very powerful. The way you talk to yourself shapes your actions. If you always say, I can't, you stay stuck. If you ask, how can I? You start finding answers. This is how people slowly build new opportunities. The chapter also talks about the importance of learning, not just working. Many people focus only on earning money from a job. They work hard, get paid, and repeat the same cycle. But they do not spend time learning new skills about money. For example, understanding how to invest, how to build assets, or how to spot opportunities. Without this knowledge, it becomes very hard to grow financially. Let's go back to John and Mike. John works overtime to earn extra money. That is good in the short term. But Mike uses some of his free time to learn about simple investments or small business ideas. At first, Mike may earn less extra money than John. But after some time, Mike's knowledge starts paying him. His money begins to work for him. John is still trading time for money, while Mike is slowly building systems that bring income even when he is not working. Another lesson in this chapter is about taking smart risks. Many people either avoid risk completely or take very big, careless risks. Both can be harmful. The rich usually take calculated risks. This means they learn first, understand the situation, and then take a step. They do not jump blindly, but they also do not stay frozen. For example, Emma wants to try selling something online. Instead of spending all her money at once, she starts small. She tests her idea with a few products. If it works, she grows slowly. If it does not work, she learns and adjusts. This way, her risk is controlled and her learning is high. The chapter also explains that losing is part of learning. Many people are afraid of losing money, so they avoid trying anything new. But the truth is, small losses can teach valuable lessons. It is like learning to ride a bicycle. You may fall a few times, but each fall teaches you balance. If you never try, you never learn. Think about Mike again. Maybe his first idea does not work. He loses a small amount of money, but he learns what went wrong. The next time, he makes a better decision. Over time, these small lessons add up. This is how experience grows. There is also a strong idea about thinking differently from the crowd. Most people follow the same path because it feels safe. They go to work, earn money, pay bills, and repeat. But this path does not always lead to financial growth. The rich often think differently. They ask unusual questions. They look at problems as chances to create something new. For example, Sarah sees a problem and says, "This is difficult." Mike sees the same problem and says, "Maybe I can solve this and earn from it." This shift in thinking opens new doors. The chapter also highlights that knowledge is more important than money in the long run. If you give money to someone without knowledge, they may lose it. But if you give knowledge, they can create money again and again. This is why learning is so important. Let's imagine two people. John gets a sudden amount of money, but has no knowledge of managing it. He spends it quickly and returns to where he started. Mike, on the other hand, may not have much money at first, but he learns how money works. Even if he loses some, he can rebuild because he understands the system. The journey described in this chapter is simple but deep. At first, people feel stuck because of fear, doubt, and lack of knowledge. Then they begin to understand that their thinking needs to change. They start asking better questions, learning new skills, and taking small steps. Slowly, they move from depending only on a job to creating other sources of income. This is not about becoming rich overnight. It is about changing how you see money and opportunities. It is about training your mind to look for solutions instead of stopping at problems. In the end, the message of this chapter is clear. Money is not just about working harder. It is about thinking smarter. If you keep doing the same thing, you will get the same results. But if you learn, ask better questions, and take small, smart actions, your situation can change. So the next time you face a problem, do not say, "I can't." Instead, ask, "How can I?" That simple shift can start a whole new way of thinking. And over time, that thinking can change your life. Imagine working hard every day, getting paid, and still feel like money is always slipping away. You earn, you spend, and somehow you are still stuck in the same place. Now imagine someone who earns the same as you, but slowly becomes richer over time, even without working harder. What is the difference? This is a question that Chapter 6 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad tries to answer, written by Robert T. Kiyosaki. Let's start with a simple story. John and Mike both have jobs. John works very hard, saves money, and tries to avoid any risk. He thinks playing safe is the best way to stay secure. Mike also works, but he uses some of his time to learn new skills. Sometimes he tries things that don't work. He fails a few times, loses some money, and feels unsure, but he keeps learning. After some time, Mike starts finding better opportunities, while John stays in the same place. The big difference is not luck. It is how they deal with fear and learning. Chapter 6 talks about something very real. People often let fear and doubt stop them from growing. It explains that many people know what they should do to become financially strong, but they don't act. Not because they are lazy, but because they are afraid. Afraid of losing money, afraid of making mistakes, or afraid of looking foolish. The main idea of this chapter is simple. It is not enough to know things. You must also act, even when you feel unsure. Knowledge without action does not change anything. The book explains that fear is normal. Everyone feels it. Even successful people feel it. The difference is how they respond to that fear. Some people stop and do nothing. Others move forward carefully and learn from the experience. Let's break this into a simple thought. Imagine Sarah wants to start a small business. She reads books, watches videos, and learns a lot, but she keeps waiting for the perfect time. She thinks, what if I lose money? Or what if people laugh at me? So she does nothing. On the other hand, Emma also wants to start a business. She is also scared, but she starts small. She tries something simple, maybe selling a few items. She makes mistakes, but she learns what works and what doesn't. After some time, Emma improves. Sarah is still waiting. This shows the first big lesson. Fear of losing stops many people from even starting. But not starting is also a kind of loss because you lose time and experience. Another important idea in this chapter is self-doubt. Sometimes people think they are not smart enough, not experienced enough, or not ready yet. This thinking becomes a barrier. The truth is, nobody starts as an expert. People become better by doing, not by waiting. Think about Mike again. When he first tried something new, he did not know everything. He made mistakes. Maybe he lost some money. But each mistake taught him something. Over time, his confidence grew. He did not become confident first and then act. He acted first and confidence came later. This is a second lesson. Action builds confidence, not the other way around. The chapter also talks about the importance of learning from failure. Many people see failure as something bad. They feel ashamed or discouraged. But the book explains it in a different way. Failure is feedback. It shows what did not work, so you can try a better way next time. Let's take a simple example. Imagine a kid learning to ride a bicycle. The first few times, the kid falls. If the kid stops trying because of fear, they will never learn. But if the kid gets up and tries again, they slowly improve. After some time, riding becomes easy. The same idea applies to money and life decisions. Now think about adults. Many adults stop trying new things because they are afraid of falling. They forget that learning always includes mistakes. This is why some people stay stuck while others keep growing. Another key point in this chapter is that people often focus too much on safety. They want a guaranteed result before they act. But in real life, there is rarely a guarantee. Waiting for complete safety often means missing opportunities. John from our story wanted everything to be safe. He avoided risks. At first, this seemed smart, but over time, he missed chances to grow. Mike, on the other hand, took small risks. He did not jump blindly. He learned, tested, and adjusted. This helped him move forward. This brings us to the third lesson. Smart risks can lead to growth, while avoiding all risks can keep you stuck. The chapter also highlights something very practical. Many people say, I don't have enough money to start. But often, the real problem is not money. It is mindset. If someone believes they cannot do it, they won't even try. But if someone believes they can learn and improve, they will find ways to start small. For example, Emma did not need a lot of money to begin. She started with what she had. Maybe she sold something simple or offered a small service. The key point is, she started. Starting small is better than not starting at all. Now, let's look at a small journey. At the beginning, a person feels stuck. They work, earn, and spend, but nothing changes. Then they learn that fear and doubt are holding them back. They start to understand that waiting for perfect conditions is not useful. Slowly, they decide to take small steps. They try something new, make mistakes, learn, and improve. Over time, they gain confidence and better results. This journey is not fast. It takes time, but it is real and practical. The chapter also teaches that thinking alone is not enough. Many people spend too much time planning and not enough time doing. Planning is important, but action is what creates results. Even a small step is better than no step. Let's go back to Sarah. She kept planning and thinking. She wanted everything to be perfect, but perfection never came. Emma, on the other hand, took action. Even though her first attempts were not perfect, they gave her real experience. That experience became her advantage. One more important idea is that people often listen too much to negative voices. Sometimes these voices come from others, and sometimes from inside their own mind. These voices say things like, you can't do this, or it's too risky. If a person listens to these voices all the time, they stop moving forward. The book suggests a simple approach. Instead of focusing on fear, focus on learning. Ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of what if I fail? This small change in thinking can make a big difference. In real life, nobody avoids all mistakes. Even successful people have failed many times. The difference is, they did not stop. They used those failures to improve. So, what is the clear message from this chapter? If you want to grow financially or in any part of life, you cannot let fear and doubt control your decisions. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. You just need to start, learn, and keep going. Think about your own life. Is there something you want to try but keep delaying? Maybe it's learning a new skill, starting something small, or making a better financial decision. The biggest barrier is often not outside. It is inside your thinking. Start small. Take one simple step. Accept that mistakes will happen. Learn from them. Over time, These small steps can lead to big changes. In the end, the chapter reminds us of a simple truth. People who succeed are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who act even when they feel it. And that is something anyone can learn to do. Imagine two people standing at the same starting line. Both have the same chance to learn about money. Both earn some income. But after a few years, one person grows richer and calmer about money, while the other keeps struggling, feeling stuck again and again. The difference is not luck. It is not talent. The real difference is how they handle obstacles. Think about John. He wants to save money and invest. At first, he feels excited. He reads a little, watches some videos, and tells himself, I will start soon. But then something stops him. He feels scared. What if he loses money? Then he says, I don't have enough money anyway. Later, he feels lazy and says, I'll do it next month. Days turn into months. Months turn into years. John is not poor because he cannot earn. He is stuck because of small things inside his mind. Now think about Sarah. She also feels scared at the beginning. She also thinks she doesn't have enough money. But instead of stopping, she asks simple questions. What is the smallest step I can take? She starts small. She learns from mistakes. Slowly, she grows. In a few years, she understands money better and feels more confident. This is the heart of Chapter 7 of _Rich Dad, Poor Dad _ by Robert T. Kiyosaki. The chapter talks about one simple idea. Most people do not become rich, not because they cannot, but because they let small obstacles control them. These obstacles are not big problems outside. They are simple habits and thoughts inside. The main idea is very clear. If you want to grow with money, you must learn how to handle fear, doubt, laziness, bad habits, and ego. These things stop people more than anything else. The book shows that money problems are often thinking problems. Let's understand this step by step. The first big obstacle is fear. Fear is very normal. Everyone feels it. Imagine Mike. He hears that investing can help him grow money, but then he thinks, what if I lose everything? So he does nothing. He keeps his money sitting still. Now here's the simple truth. When money sits still, it does not grow much. Over time, it can even lose value. So Mike is trying to avoid losing money, but by doing nothing, he is actually losing opportunities. Sarah also feels fear, but she looks at it differently. She says, what if I learn slowly and start small? She understands that mistakes are part of learning. Think about learning to ride a bike. You may fall once or twice, but you don't stop forever. You learn balance. Money works in a similar way. Small mistakes can teach big lessons. The book explains that rich people are not fearless. They just don't let fear stop them. They use fear as a signal to learn more. Poor people often let fear become a wall that blocks action. The second obstacle is doubt. This is when your mind keeps telling you, you can't do it. Imagine Emma. She sees others investing or starting small businesses. But inside, she hears a voice saying, they're smarter than me. I don't understand these things. So she never even tries. This doubt becomes a habit. Every time she sees a chance, she steps back. But here is something simple. Nobody starts as an expert. Every person who understands money today was once confused. Sarah also had doubts, but she asked questions. She read simple things. She talked to people who knew more. Slowly, her doubt became understanding. Doubt is like a fog. It makes things look unclear. But when you take small steps, the fog slowly disappears. The problem is not that Emma cannot learn. The problem is she believes she cannot. The third obstacle is laziness. This one is tricky. Many people are not truly lazy. They are just busy doing the wrong things. Think about John again. He works all day. He feels tired. When he comes home, he watches shows or scrolls on his phone. He says, I am too tired to learn about money. Days pass like this. But Sarah also works. She also gets tired. Still, she gives even 20 minutes a day to learn something useful. That small time adds up. After 1 year, she knows much more than before. Laziness often hides behind comfort. It feels easier to relax than to think or learn. But the cost of that comfort is slow growth. The book suggests a simple idea. Instead of saying, I am too tired, ask, What is one small thing I can do today? Even a little effort, done daily, can change your future. The fourth obstacle is bad habits. Habits are things we do again and again without thinking. Imagine Mike gets his income. The first thing he does is spend on things he wants. Then, if something is left, he thinks about saving, but most of the time, nothing is left. This habit keeps him stuck. Now think about Sarah. When she gets money, she first keeps a small part aside for saving or investing. Then she uses the rest. This one simple habit changes everything. Over time, her savings grow. Habits are powerful because they work quietly. You don't notice them daily, but after years, they decide your results. Changing habits does not need big actions. It starts with small changes, like saving a little first, or learning something daily. The fifth obstacle is ego. Ego means thinking, I already know enough, or feeling embarrassed to admit you don't know something. Imagine Emma is talking to someone who understands money well. Instead of asking questions, she stays silent because she doesn't want to look uneducated. Because of this, she misses a chance to learn. Ego closes the door to growth. Sarah does the opposite. She openly says, I don't understand this. Can you explain? Because of that, she learns faster. The book makes a very simple point here. It is better to look like a beginner for a short time than to stay confused for a long time. Learning requires honesty. You must accept what you don't know. Now, let's bring all of this together with a simple journey. At the start, John, Mike, and Emma all feel stuck with money. They earn, but they don't grow. The problem is not income alone. It is how they think and act. Fear stops them from trying. Doubt tells them they are not good enough. Laziness keeps them in comfort. Habits push them to spend first. Ego stops them from learning. Then comes understanding. They realize these are not big outside problems. These are small inside blocks. Once they see this clearly, things begin to change. John decides to face fear by starting very small. Mike changes his habit and saves a little before spending. Emma starts asking questions without worrying about what others think. None of them become rich overnight, but they begin moving forward. The solution is not magic. It is simple and logical. Notice your obstacles, accept them, then take small steps to handle them. Over time, these small steps build confidence. The chapter is not really about money tricks. It is about thinking clearly. Money is just a tool. The real game happens in your mind. If your thinking improves, your actions improve, and better actions lead to better results. One important thing to understand is that everyone faces these obstacles. Even people who are successful today still deal with fear and doubt sometimes. The difference is they don't stop. They keep moving, even if slowly. If you wait to feel perfect, you may never start. If you wait to feel zero fear, you may stay stuck. The smarter way is to move forward while feeling unsure. Learn as you go. Think about this like planting a tree. If you plant a seed today, it does not grow big tomorrow. But if you water it daily after some time, it becomes strong. Handling obstacles works the same way. Each small effort is like watering the seed. In the end, the message of this chapter is very clear. Your biggest limits are not outside. They're inside your habits, your thoughts, and your choices. Once you see this, you gain control. You stop blaming situations and start improving actions. So the next time you feel scared to try something new with money, don't run away from that feeling. Look at it and ask, what small step can I take? When you doubt yourself, remind yourself that learning is always possible. When you feel lazy, do just a little. When habits pull you back, change them slowly. When ego stops you, choose learning over looking smart. Step by step, these small changes can completely change your path. And that is how real growth begins. What if I told you that the reason most people struggle with money is not because they don't work hard, but because they don't understand how money really works? Imagine two people earning the same salary. One keeps getting richer over time, while the other stays stuck or even falls behind. The difference is not luck. It is thinking. Let's start with a simple story. John and Mike are friends. Both get their first job at the same time. Every month, they earn the same amount. John buys a new phone, nice clothes, and sometimes a new bike on loan. Mike also enjoys life, but he does something different. Every month, he keeps a small part of his money aside and uses it to buy things that bring him more money later. After a few years, John is still working hard just to pay bills. Mike is still working too, but now he also has money coming in from other places. Slowly, Mike feels less pressure, while John feels more stress. This simple difference is what Chapter 8 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki tries to explain in a very clear way. The chapter is about how people often miss opportunities because they are afraid, confused, or stuck in old habits. It teaches that building wealth is not just about earning money, but about how you think and what actions you take. The main idea of this chapter is very simple. Opportunities to grow your money are always around you, but most people do not see them. Even when they see them, they are too afraid to act. Fear of losing money, fear of making mistakes, or even fear of change stops them. Because of this, they stay in the same place while others move forward. Think about it like this. Imagine Sarah sees a chance to buy something at a low price and sell it later at a higher price. She understands it is a good deal, but she keeps thinking, what if I lose money? So she does nothing. Later, someone else takes the same chance and makes a profit. The opportunity was there for both, but only one person acted. This chapter teaches that fear is normal, but letting fear control your decisions is the real problem. Everyone feels scared when trying something new. Even successful people feel fear. The difference is they still take action after thinking carefully. They do not ignore risk, but they also do not run away from it. Another important lesson is that knowledge matters more than money. Many people think, if I had more money, I would invest. But the truth is, without knowledge, more money can lead to bigger mistakes. A person who understands money can start small and still grow. A person who does not understand money can lose even a big amount. Let's go back to John and Mike. John once gets a bonus from work. He feels rich for a moment and buys expensive things. Soon, the money is gone. Mike also gets a bonus. Instead of spending it all, he learns about a simple way to invest. He uses part of the money to try it. At first, he makes small mistakes, but he learns. Over time, he becomes better. The same extra money gave two very different results because of knowledge and action. This chapter also explains that most people are trained to look for safety instead of growth. From a young age, they are told to avoid risk, so they choose safe paths again and again. A safe job, safe choices, and safe spending. But being too safe can also keep you stuck. Growth often comes from trying new things, even if there's a chance of failure. This does not mean you should take crazy risks. It means you should learn, think, and take smart risks. For example, instead of spending money on something that loses value, you can try using a small amount to learn how to grow it. Even if you lose a little, the lesson you gain can help you earn much more later. Another simple idea in this chapter is that excuses hold people back. People often say things like, I don't have enough money, or I don't know how, or this is too risky. These may sound real, but often they're just ways to avoid action. The truth is, everyone starts without knowing. Everyone starts small. The difference is who chooses to learn and try. Let's take Emma as an example. She wants to improve her money situation, but she keeps saying, I'll start when I have more money. Because of this, she never starts. One day, she decides to change her thinking. Instead of waiting, she asks, what can I do with what I have right now? She starts small. She learns, makes mistakes, and slowly improves. Over time, her situation changes, not because she got lucky, but because she changed her thinking and actions. This chapter also shows that the world is full of chances, but only trained eyes can see them. If you never learn about money, you will miss these chances. But if you keep learning, you start noticing things others ignore. You begin to see patterns, deals, and ideas that can help you grow. Think about it like learning a new game. At first, everything looks confusing. You don't understand the rules, and you make mistakes. But as you play more, you start seeing moves ahead of time. You understand what works and what doesn't. Money works in a similar way. The more you learn, the clearer things become. The chapter also talks about how important it is to take responsibility. Many people blame outside things for their problems. They blame their job, their situation, or other people. But this thinking keeps them stuck. When you take responsibility, you start asking better questions. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What can I do about it?" This small shift gives you power. Let's look at a small journey to understand this better. At the start, Mike feels confused about money. He works hard but sees no real progress. Then he learns that working hard alone is not enough. He starts reading, asking questions, and observing how money works. At first, he is scared to try anything, but he decides to start small. He takes one step, then another. He makes mistakes, but he learns from them. Slowly, he gains confidence. Over time, his money starts working for him, not just the other way around. The solution here is not magic. It is simple but not always easy. Learn about money. Stay curious. Do not let fear stop you. Start small. Take action. Learn from mistakes. Keep going. At the end, the message of this chapter is very clear. Opportunities are everywhere, but most people miss them because they are afraid or not prepared. If you want to grow, you need to train your mind to see opportunities, not just problems. You need to act even when you feel unsure, as long as you've thought it through. Money is not just about how much you earn. It is about how you think, what you learn, and what you do with what you have. If you change these three things, your future can change too. Imagine this. John works every day, saves some money, and feels proud. But at the end of the month, his money is almost gone. He wonders, why does this keep happening? I work hard. I do everything right. So why am I not moving forward? One day, his friend Mike tells him something simple but powerful. Maybe it's not about working harder. Maybe it's about learning what to do with your money. This idea is what the book _Rich Dad, Poor Dad _ tries to teach. And in chapter 9, the author focuses on a very practical question. If you understand the ideas, what should you actually do next? How do you move from knowing to doing? The main idea of this chapter is simple. Knowing about money is not enough. You must take small, smart actions in real life. The author gives simple steps that anyone can follow. These steps are not about luck or talent. They are about habits, thinking, and decisions. Let's break this down in a very easy way. First, the book says you must find a reason that is strong enough. Think of it like this. Sarah wants to save money, but she also loves spending on small things. Every time she gets paid, she says, "I will save this time." But then she sees something she likes, and she spends again. Why? Because her reason to save is weak. Now imagine Sarah has a clear goal. She wants to buy something important in the future, like starting a small business or becoming free from money stress. Now her reason is strong. When she feels like spending, she stops and thinks, is this helping my future or hurting it? This simple change helps her make better choices. So the first lesson is this. You need a strong reason. Without it, you will not stay consistent. Second, the book talks about the power of choice. Many people say, I don't have money or I can't afford it. But the author suggests a different way of thinking. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, ask, how can I afford it? This small change is very powerful. Let's go back to John. He sees an opportunity to learn a new skill, but it costs money. If he says, I can't afford it, his brain stops thinking. But if he asks, how can I afford it? His brain starts working. Maybe he finds a way to earn extra money. Maybe he cuts some expenses. Maybe he learns slowly but keeps going. The idea is not about buying everything. It is about training your mind to look for solutions instead of excuses. Third, the book explains the importance of learning, not just earning. Many people focus only on making money, but the author says you should focus on learning how money works. Think about Mike. He earns a good salary, but he spends most of it and saves very little. He never takes time to learn about investing, saving, or building assets. So even though he earns a lot, he stays stuck. Now look at Emma. She earns less than Mike, but she spends time learning about money. She reads, asks questions, and tries small things. She learns how to save, how to invest a little, and how to make her money grow. Over time, Emma moves forward faster than Mike. The lesson is clear. Your income is important, but your knowledge is more important. If you don't learn, more money will not solve your problems. Another important idea in this chapter is about controlling your habits. Many people know what is right, but they don't do it. Why? Because habits are stronger than knowledge. For example, John knows he should save money, but every time he gets paid, he spends first and saves later. By the end of the month, nothing is left. The book suggests a simple trick. Pay yourself first. This means when you earn money, you first save or invest a small part, then you spend what is left. At first, this feels hard. John might feel pressure because he has less money to spend, but this pressure forces him to think smarter. He starts managing his money better. Over time, this small habit changes everything. He builds savings and investments, and slowly his money starts working for him. The chapter also talks about choosing your friends carefully. This does not mean you leave people. It means you learn from people who have useful knowledge. If John only talks to people who complain about money, he will think the same way. But if he listens to people who understand money, he learns new ideas. He sees different ways to solve problems. For example, if Sarah wants to start saving, she might talk to someone who already does it well. She can ask simple questions. How do you control spending? How do you decide where to invest? These small conversations can teach more than many books. Another simple idea from this chapter is about taking small steps. Many people wait for the perfect moment. They think, I will start when I have more money, or I will start when I know everything. But the author says this is a mistake. You don't need to be perfect to start. You learn by doing. Imagine Emma wants to invest. She waits and waits because she is scared of making mistakes. Years pass, and she still hasn't started. On the other hand, Mike starts small. He makes some mistakes, but he learns from them. Over time, he becomes better. The difference is simple. Action beats waiting. The chapter also warns about fear and doubt. These are normal. Everyone feels them. But the problem is when they stop you from acting. John might think, what if I lose money? Sarah might think, what if I fail? These thoughts are normal. But if they let these thoughts control them, they will never move forward. Instead, the book suggests accepting that mistakes will happen, but each mistake teaches something. Over time, these lessons become your strength. Let's look at a small journey to understand everything together. At the start, John is stuck. He works hard but has no savings. He feels confused and frustrated. Then he starts learning simple ideas. He understands that he needs a strong reason, better habits, and a new way of thinking. He starts small. He saves a little first before spending. He asks better questions like, how can I improve this? He talks to people who know more about money. He learns step by step. At first, it feels uncomfortable. He has less money to spend. He makes small mistakes, but he keeps going. After some time, things change. He has some savings. He feels more in control. He starts seeing opportunities instead of problems. His confidence grows, not because everything is perfect, but because he understands what he is doing. This is the real message of Chapter 9. It is not about big, sudden success. It is about small, smart actions done again and again. In simple words, the chapter is saying this. If you want a better financial life, you must think differently, learn continuously, and act consistently. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start and keep improving. So the next time you think about money, don't just ask, how much do I earn? Ask, what am I learning? What habits am I building? What small step can I take today? Because in the end, your future does not change because of one big decision. It changes because of many small, smart decisions you make every day. Imagine working hard every day, earning money, and still feeling like you're not getting ahead. Your bills keep coming, your savings stay small, and your stress keeps growing. Now imagine someone else who earns the same money as you, but slowly becomes richer over time. What is the difference? It is not luck. It is not magic. It is how they think about money. Let's take a simple story. John and Mike both get their first job. They earn the same salary. John spends most of his money on things he likes right now, like a new phone, games, and eating out. Mike also enjoys life, but he thinks a little differently. Before he spends, he asks himself, will this help me grow my money or just take it away? Over time, John feels stuck, while Mike slowly builds something bigger. This small difference in thinking changes their future. This is the core idea behind the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. In Chapter 10, the focus is on how you take action and how you move forward even when things feel uncertain. It is not just about knowing ideas. It is about using them in real life. The main idea of this chapter is simple. Many people know what they should do with money, but they do not actually do it. They feel fear, doubt, or confusion. Because of this, they stay where they are. The chapter explains that success with money is not only about knowledge, it is about behavior. It is about doing the right things again and again, even when it feels uncomfortable. Let's break this down in a very simple way. First, the book talks about fear. Fear is one of the biggest reasons people do not move forward. For example, Sarah wants to start saving and investing. She reads about it and understands the basics. But then she thinks, what if I lose money? What if I make a mistake? Because of this fear, she does nothing. Her money just sits, or she spends it without thinking. The result is that nothing changes in her life. Now think about Mike again. He also feels fear, but instead of stopping, he takes small steps. He starts with a small amount of money. He learns from his mistakes. He improves slowly. Over time, his confidence grows. The difference is not that Mike is fearless. The difference is that he acts even when he feels fear. This teaches a simple lesson. You do not need to wait until you feel perfect or ready. If you wait for that, you may never start. You just need to begin with small steps and learn along the way. The second important idea is about excuses. Many people have smart reasons for not taking action. They say things like, I don't have enough money, or I don't have time, or I will start later. These reasons sound logical, but they often hide the real problem, which is avoiding change. Let's look at John again. He says, I will save money when I earn more. But when he earns more, he also spends more. So nothing changes. This is called a habit. If you do not control your habits now, they will follow you later. Now look at Emma. She also does not earn a lot, but she decides to save a small amount every month. It may feel very small, but she stays consistent. Over time, this small habit grows into something big. Emma did not wait for the perfect time. She started with what she had. The lesson here is very clear. Your situation may not be perfect, but you can still take action. Even a small step is better than no step. The third key idea is about learning from mistakes. Many people are afraid of failing, so they avoid trying new things. But the truth is, mistakes are part of learning. Think about a child learning to ride a bicycle. The child falls many times, but each time they learn something new. Slowly they improve, and one day they ride without falling. If the child stopped after the first fall, they would never learn. The same idea applies to money. If you try something and it does not work, it does not mean you're bad with money. It just means you learned something. Mike might invest in something that does not work well, but instead of quitting, he asks, what went wrong? Then he improves his next decision. John, on the other hand, might try once, fail, and then say, this is not for me, so he stops. Over time, Mike becomes smarter and more confident, while John stays the same. This shows a simple truth. Failure is not the problem. Not learning from failure is the real problem. Now, let's connect all these ideas into a small journey. At the beginning, John and Mike are the same. They both earn money and have similar lives. But John lets fear stop him. He makes excuses and avoids learning from mistakes. Because of this, he stays stuck. He works hard but does not move forward. Mike feels the same fear, but he acts anyway. He starts small. He avoids excuses. When he makes mistakes, he learns from them. Over time, his money starts working for him. He gains confidence, control over his life. The big change happens not because of luck, but because of small, repeated actions. Another simple example can make this even clearer. Imagine you want to get fit. You know you should exercise and eat better. But if you keep saying, I will start tomorrow, nothing changes. The same idea applies to money. Knowing is not enough. Action is what creates results. The book also suggests something very practical. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, ask, how can I afford this? This small change in thinking can push your mind to find solutions instead of stopping. For example, if Sarah wants to save money but feels she cannot, she can ask, how can I save even a small amount? Maybe she finds ways to reduce small expenses or earn a little extra. This question opens a door to action. In simple words, your mind can either stop you or help you. It depends on the questions you ask. Another important point is discipline. Taking action once is easy. Doing it again and again is the real challenge. Mike does not become successful in one day. He builds habits. He saves regularly. He learns regularly. He improves slowly. This consistency is what creates long-term results. John might try once or twice, but without discipline, he goes back to old habits. This is why many people start, but do not continue. So the real power is not in big actions, but in small actions done regularly. At the end of the day, this chapter is not teaching something complicated. It is teaching something very real and practical. You already know many things about money, but the question is, are you using them? You do not need to change everything at once. You can start with one small step. Maybe save a small amount. Maybe learn one new thing about money. Maybe try something new even if you feel unsure. Over time, these small steps will create a big difference. The clear message is this: your future with money is not decided by how much you earn. It is decided by how you think and what actions you take. Fear, excuses, and mistakes are part of the journey. But if you keep moving forward, learning, and improving, you will slowly build a better life. So the next time you feel stuck, do not wait for the perfect moment. Just take a small step. That small step can change everything. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this.